Good afternoon. Thank you to Red Corporate for having us here, and thank you all for making it through lunch and getting to the afternoon session. Greatly appreciated, and really look forward to telling you now about Sky Metals and where we're headed in quite a short amount of time. This is a picture of our Tullabung tin project here. It's the site of a big old tin mining operation, almost 100 years of production here. You can see the old crusher, the water in the old open pit, the old machinery shed, and we're very lucky that we have combined this with modern technology. That means that we have a real advantage on this project and to create tin that is seeing a growing demand globally. Quick disclaimer and an overview of our board. Norm Seckold, very strong mining entrepreneur, is our chairman. He runs Nickel Industries now for HPA, as well as being responsible for a number of mining companies in the past. Richard Hill and Remus Karitis were founding directors of Aurelia Metals. They now were operating the Hera mine, which is actually one of the closest operations to Tullabung, our tin project. So we've got a track record on this board of taking discoveries and putting them into production, and in this exact area as well. And myself, I've been involved with a number of successful discoveries in New South Wales with Evolution Mining and Alkane Resources. Our market cap's around the 35 million mark, and importantly, we just recently raised $6 million. So we're very well funded for our next phase of work. And I think another key aspect here as well is we've engaged a local environmental consultancy group called Corkeries, and they're guiding us through all that environmental permitting process as well, so that we can make sure we can get this into production as quickly as possible. Just to give you a bit of an update on the tin market, I don't imagine a lot of you do follow the tin market, but it is more and more becoming a vital piece of technology. Tin's having its day again. Since the EU banned lead solder in 2003, tin is the only alternative for solder. So all electronics are held together with tin. There's about 1 gram in your phone, there's more in your computer, and there's about half a kilo in your car, and even more in an EV. It's a very important market these days, and this is a graph here from the Macquarie Strategy Group. You can see with 3 key uses of solar PVs, semiconductors and automotives, that we're seeing a very strong increase in tin demand, and with that we're seeing the tin price increase as well. The tin price is about 3 times the copper price, so it's a very valuable commodity to have. The important thing to note about the tin price is that it's what we say is inelastic. So as the tin price goes up, because there's only 1 gram or so used in your phone, it's not going to make your phone unaffordable. It just means that tin miners make more money. So the tin price basically can go where it wants. There's no replacement for tin. And at the moment we're seeing heavily disrupted supply chains for tin. The graphs on the bottom there show the domestic production of China with that orange line. You can see that over time China's domestic production has been declining, and more they are relying on imports of tin. A lot of those, 40% of China's tin demand, was coming from Myanmar. Myanmar has obviously had some troubles over the recent history, and most recently with the rebels acquiring some drones and attacking the border towns on China's border, which means that a lot of the tin that was coming from Myanmar isn't anymore. So China's getting more and more in demand for tin concentrates, and Indonesia as well has had a corruption scandal go through their state-run company PT Timah that run the tin out of Indonesia. These are the 2 biggest tin producers. They're both having troubles, and as I said, Myanmar, which is 4th on the global tin producers, is seeing some dire straits. So there's very limited ethical and reliable sources of tin, and very few tin investment opportunities on the ASX. And this is where we see our Tullabung project coming in. This is an aerial photo of the Tullabung project. You can see the large open pits there. On the right-hand side is the old tailings dam. It was quite a large operation, running up until the mid-1980s and discovered back in the 1890s. So quite a long-lived operation, and mostly exploiting the alluvial tin that sat over the top of the underlying hard rock tin deposit. And it's that underlying deposit that we're now exploring. And given the history of mining there, it means that there's a lot of infrastructure already in place for us to have shortcuts into production. We've already got power lines to site, we've already got roads back to town and things. We've already got a pipeline down the Lachlan River. There's a lot of key bits of infrastructure that mean that we can quickly get a new operation in place here and get back to producing some important tin for the world. We have discovered quite a large hard rock resource, but most recently in our drilling this year, we have actually been finding some higher grade zones on the margins of that resource. So we discovered 11 metres at over 1% tin. So as I said, tin's worth over 3 times as much as copper, so you're looking at 11 metres at over 3% copper, as well as some silver and tungsten there too. So a very high value target here from this deposit. But that said, these are high grade areas, and we're now looking at a follow-up drill program to expand these areas and to continue to grow the resource, and that's commencing early next year. So some key reasons that the Tallabung project can look to be a very potentially low-cost tin producer. We're looking at very low-cost mining. The deposit comes to surface, it's open pittable, it has stacked lenses, and so as you mine one lens you start moving into the next one, and it means that you get very low strip ratios, and with every drill hole we've been growing this deposit. We don't know the extent of it yet, it's already quite large and we continue to grow it. So we're looking at very low-cost open pit mining. Then we have what is really something unique to this deposit, is an exceptional upgrade with ore sorting. Ore sorting is a ubiquitous technology in tin mining. The Renison Tin Mine, Australia's pretty much only and largest hard rock tin mine in Tasmania, uses ore sorting, uses the TOMA ore sorters, just like we plan to on this project. The only difference is that our ore is uniquely ideal for that technology, and that means that we upgrade our grade by 5 times and we get rid of 80% of the mass before we do any costly downstream processing. But the downstream processing for us is just a simple gravity plant. We're not using flotation or cyanide or anything that gold producers need. It's just a simple water and gravity that separates out the tin. It's the same process that they would have used mining tin here back in the 1890s. Very straightforward, and then we get a very high payability concentrate on the back of that, which, as we can see, is in very high demand given the straits that tin supply is in globally. We do currently have a resource of 15.6 million tonnes at 0.15% tin and a larger exploration target, but these do not include the drilling that we completed this year, and so they're likely to substantially grow with that drilling and continue to grow as we do more work. And importantly as well, with that ore sorting, we upgrade that 0.15% tin head grade to over 0.7% tin, which is equivalent to well over 2% copper in value, and makes a very high value product for us to then be spending money on doing downstream concentrating. And just a little bit of background on ore sorting and why it works so well for this deposit. They actually would have done ore sorting on the hard rock component of this deposit back in the 1890s and right up probably into the 1950s when they were mining some of the hard rock there. And it would have just been a case of them hand selecting the rocks that they could see have a lot of tin in and getting rid of the rest. The only difference is that we're using technology, we're using x-rays, and it means that we can do, rather than a couple of tonne, we can do millions of tonnes a year. And the key difference with this deposit to many other tin deposits is how nuggety our tin is. We have very big, large grains of tin, and it's very discrete. So this is a picture of the Tallabung mineralisation there, and the black grains there are the chunks of tin cassiterite, and the grey rock around it is the host rock that's very plain. And the host rock has a density of about 2.7 tonnes per cubic metre, and the cassiterite has a density of about 7 tonnes per cubic metre. And it's that density difference that the XRT ore sorter picks up. The denser material stops more x-rays, just like an x-ray of your arm would spot the bone. This spots the denser parts with tin in it, and it ejects the rocks that it identifies tin in, and all the other rocks get dropped away. And it's that simple process that, on average across the whole deposit, we've seen as close as you can get to 100% recovery of tin for getting rid of 80% of the mass that we mine and upgrading it 5 times. We most recently did a much more aggressive ore sorting program where we essentially told the ore sorter, don't worry about the smaller bits of tin, we just want the big chunks like you see in that photo. And when we went through that process, we then got rid of about 98% of the mass, and we increased the grade by 44 times, taking it to around 4.5% tin, which is equivalent to sort of 12 to 15% copper, very, very high value stuff, and getting rid of a lot of mass. But we did pay for some tin recovery there. We did lose about 15 or 20% of the tin. So there was a trade-off on recovery, but we saw a much bigger upgrade. And it'll be our work now to optimise that result. Just to show a bit more detail around the ore sorting, on the left-hand side is the raw image that the X-rays make through the ore. And then on the right-hand side is how the computer classifies that. So you can see that there's dark grains there that have stopped more X-rays, and the computer then is able to classify that as tin. You can see all those blue rocks there, they get fired off, they get accepted, and all of those red rocks get rejected, they get dropped. And it's that simple differentiation using the X-rays that means that we get this large mass reduction, and that not only significantly lowers our OPEX in that downstream processing is a fifth of what it would have been otherwise, it also lowers our CapEx. So the capital required for this project is a fifth what it would be otherwise, because we get rid of so much material, we need a much smaller plant, we use a fifth of the water we would need, we use a fifth of the electricity. It makes a huge difference to this project, and we're very lucky to have the ideal deposit for this technology. Just in terms of some how we go about mining this, there are some higher grade zones in the deposit as well, and these are some areas ideal for starter pits. If you imagine a pit shell around that higher grade area there, you can see that we'd be taking very little waste with the ore, and these spots are ideal for us exploiting early in the mining piece to pay off our CapEx in months rather than years and get straight to free cash flow. And more recently, we're planning to do a trenching program. We've got mineralisation, we've got tin that comes to surface, so we're planning to dig a number of trenches across the entire deposit. We'll map those, we'll sample those, and then we'll choose 3 or 4 of them to take a big bulk tonnage sample. We'll take something like 50 to 80 tonnes in total. We'll run that through the Tomra ore sorters, and then we'll use a pilot gravity plant as well to make up some concentrate that we'll be able to pass on to downstream end users and be able to market that concentrate. And this is a really unique opportunity in a lot of deposits. Most people don't get this opportunity to look at a bulk sample until a very long way down the development pathway, sometimes not even until they begin mining. So this is a really great process for us to get in early and have a good look at the project. So this is drone footage now panning across the southern area of the old mining field, old machinery shed there, and then coming into the southern open pit. And as I said, we're planning to be a large-scale multi-rig drilling program next year, and on the back of that have an updated resource and then move into feasibility studies, which we hope to get out halfway through next year. And all of this will demonstrate what we think will be very compelling economics for this project to show the very capital efficient and low-cost tin operation. And how that looks like on the timeline, we're stepping through these technical pieces on the left there, and on the right to show you the high conviction that we have on this project. We are also working through our environmental permitting stages. We've constructed groundwater monitoring bores, we've started background environmental studies, and all of those are meaning that we can get this permitting going as quickly as possible on the back of those successful feasibility studies in the middle of next year. Thank you very much.